folks, we got another edition of the Step to the Mic podcast coming at you. Monica McNutt, Andre Jones with you. This week, our guest, you know the hook on this pod, is DMV, born, raised, bred, on to be successful and represent. This week's guest, 13-year NFL career, a Pro Bowl selection, went to Springbrook High School. There's a bunch of other accolades that we're going to get into. He sported the burgundy and gold for 4 seasons. He is the one only Shawn Springs. Shawn, how you feeling?
Big time, Shawn.
What's up? What's up? We stepping to the mic. Hey, y'all know I'm like Peter Green now. You know I get on this mic, I might say anything. Tell me what I can and cannot say, Dre. You know how I go.
Well, Monica already set the table about all your accolades, so let's listen to everybody. We're going to let you talk, but Springbrook was the launching pad. Your father was at Howard University coaching running backs, DBs at Howard. You're over at Springbrook. Bring everybody up to speed. You come into the DMV and bam.
Yeah, man. You know, for the legendary Coach Bob Malloy, man, give a shout out to the Springbrook Blue Devils. But it came down. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, lived with my mom, and I actually went to Ohio for 2 years. Then my dad wanted to bring me back down for the DMV to go to high school. And I went over to Springbrook High School, and I went to DeMatha High School. And I was torn until I went to Springbrook and saw that they had some pretty girls in Montgomery County, and DeMatha was an all-boys school. So I said, you know what? This is an easy decision for me at 16. You know what I got to do, what I got to do. Coach Malloy, you know, he gave me some Skittles and told me to run, baby. Let's go. So I had a great career at Springbrook High School. I was fortunate enough to be one of the kids out of this area to go to The Ohio State, where, you know, I had a pretty good career, all Big Ten, academic. The thing I'm most proud about is I was academic all Big Ten twice while I was at school. And then I got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks. And the highlight of my career was playing 7 years in Seattle, where I was drafted, where I kind of went from a young man to a man. But the best part and the highlight of my career was when I came back home to play for the burgundy and gold, because, you know, I love being in Seattle, but it was no greater feeling coming back to Washington, trying to, you know, just play in front of my home team fans and stuff like that. And although we didn't win the championship, I had a great time, played in a great defense, and tried to get me one more Super Bowl by going to play with my man Tom Brady. But I should never put all my eggs in one basket. Listen to a Michigan man. That was a one-year New England loss. So maybe it's me, but it could have been that, you know, Ohio State and Michigan, we just don't mix, baby. So
now,
yeah,
Shawn, I don't want our listeners to get away from it. Your father was also a standout football player at Ohio State. Talk to us about your dad growing up, knowing you played with the Cowboys. You know, fill us in on all that.
Yeah, man. So my dad, Ron, played 9 years in NFL, and I was fortunate enough to follow in his footsteps. He blazed the trail for me, where he went to Ohio State, and he was a team captain. And one of the reasons when I went to live with my dad and we came back to this area, because my dad took the coaching job over at Howard with Coach Steve Wilson. So and my dad had played 9 years in NFL, so I was fortunate, you know, just to kind of grow up in the locker room, Dre, being around the Tony Dorsetts, being around the Tony Hills, Drew Pearsons, Ed Too Tall Jones, I know all the Washington faithful know those names because there were some battles back in the day. So I grew up in a Cowboys fan, and ironically, man, you know, how the world works, my dad has so much respect for Coach Gibbs, Dre, and Monica. When I came up for free agency, my dad was like, man, you know, you coming back to D.C., but Coach Gibbs is a great man, and we always had some battles. So even though he played for the Cowboys, the respect he had for just the Washington fan base, just for Coach Gibbs and Coach Buggs and some of the coaches that we had on that staff, allowed me to make a comfortable decision to come play in the Washington, back for the Washington football team. But that's just an example of the type of influence he had on my life. But all my life, man, he was just, you know, I was fortunate where, you know, a lot of people look up your professional football players, and my dad was a professional football player. But Dre, I never looked at him as a professional football player. Hell, he was hard on me about school than about football. So he was one of those, you know, dads that, you know, he was just never pushing on me. But he said, if you're gonna do it, go out there and be full speed and and just give it your all. So he was a big influence in my life,
Legacy, Sean. I mean, and Monica, I don't mean to dominate, but Sean, I got a little bit of a relationship. So with your legacy, going to a place like Ohio State with so much expectations, people know who you are. You played with Big Daddy. You played with Eddie George.
Yep.
Those were some great, great games and great teams that you played with. Put us in that mindset of what it's like to come through that tunnel, put the Buckeye on the helmet, right?
Yeah.
And put the scarlet and gray on and go out there and play on Saturdays. I mean, because Sean, again, I don't want to cut you off, but you set the standard for cornerbacks at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah,
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Cornerback you, like we like to say. You know what? I thought I knew about it because my dad would, all my life kind of told me about Ohio State. But until you experience it yourself, until you run out of that tunnel for the first time, you're like in awe. In high school, I might have played against 5,000 people, but then when you go out there for the first time, you're in front of 100,000 people, it's just an incredible feeling. But, I tell people all the time, it's real because you think you're the man coming out of high school, and then all of a sudden, I tell this story all the time. The first time I was up at Ohio State, we were up there early because we were freshmen, Dre, and I'm out there doing my thing, killing, repping the DMV. I'm out there killing the young receivers, right? I'm a freshman. I'm like, man, if college is like this, I'm already the man. This is going to be easy. They were freshmen too. So first after 3 days, the juniors and older kids come in, and with freshman camp is over, and we had some corners there. I didn't even know their name, Dre. They trying to step out. I said, man, listen, I got it. You sit here and watch me, vet. I'm that dude right now. Just relax.
Right.
So, I jumped out there, and they were willingly let me say, go ahead, man, go out there, young fella, step out there. First dude I get out there, he hit me with a yak, 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 caught a little slant on me. I said, man, well, my legs ain't where they need to be. I had y'all fresh. I had 3 days of practice. I said, don't worry about it. Let me tie my shoes up or something. Second dude get out there, man. I'm out there playing one-on-one with him, Dre. He runs a fade on me. He tapped me on the shoulder. He said, wait right here. I'll be back. Catch the fade on me. I said, man, I got to ice my legs after practice because I don't believe it. This is not real. Now, the other, at this time, and so the third dude get up. I was like, man, this dude he light skin, curly hair, looking like I'll be sure. He out here looking like I'll be sure. Yeah, shoestrings ain't tied. I said, man, I'm about to jam this dude to sleep. Man, this dude hit me with a yak, come out, run a stop, come out, catch the ball with one hand, bam, catch the ball on me. Man, I said, man, I can't believe it. I'm sick for the whole practice. I go to the dorm room after the day is over. I called my dad. I said, hey, man, I don't know, man. This might not be for me. He said, man, who were the receivers? Who were these kids? The first dude's name was Joey Galloway.
There you go.
With a top 10 pick. The second dude's name was Chris Sanders. He was like number 2 in the nation in the 200 meters and played for the Tennessee Titans. So he was a starting receiver. And then the third dude was a dude that we didn't even know about, was Prop 48 named Terry Glenn. So my dad said, fool, they're some of the best receivers in the country. So you just got your lessons learned. But that just goes to show you, man, the type of talent that we were dealing with. You're right. Well, I had a chance to see Big Daddy was on that team, was the first pick. When I was there, my class, most people know about my man now because he's the head coach of Tennessee Titans. I had Mike Vrabel on that team. I had Ricky Dudley. I had Eddie George. I had Orlando Pace, who was the first pick.
Right.
And for me, it was about, I just wanted to be the best because I knew the legacy of some of the people that came through Ohio State. And it's humbling when you realize after the first 3 days that you thought you was going to be the man and you're 34th on that depth chart and you got to work. But, I never lost faith because I just man, I believe in myself and I just grinded it out and, going against Joey Galloway every day, getting better. Next thing you know, I'm one of the best DBs in college football after about a year or two of being up there. and I just wanted to continue the grind. And if you see the legacy that we've left, give a shout out to my man Okuda, who went third overall this year. Jeffrey Okuda to the Detroit Lions. Now time my record of being the highest defensive back drafted. And then Denzel Ward, Lattimore, a lot of guys have come through. Nate Clemens, Antoine Winfield, Chris Gamble. So we've had a nice legacy of defensive backs come through the program. And I'm proud to say, I was one of the first to start that off.
And again, I just want to jump in. So, again, two things, Shawn. It sounds like the practice was more competitive than the games, right?
Yeah.
But then you get two young pups down here, Chase Young, that's my man, respect.
Yep.
And then you got Dwayne Haskins.
Yep.
So you know them intimately. You know them very well. Tell everybody how you showed them and told them what to expect once they went up there to Ohio State, because they had great careers.
Well, a lot of people know my relationship with Dwayne. Dwayne and my son Skylar are really good friends. When I first seen Dwayne, he was probably 10, 11 years old. And he was in New Jersey at a passing camp. And him and my son were in the passing camp. And he came up to me and shook my hand and said, "Hey, Mr. Springs, nice to meet you. I played with you on NCAA or one of the games or Madden or something." I said, "Okay, man." And I just took notice that this kid could throw the ball and developed a relationship with his dad. He's about 10 years old. And then I told his dad, I was like, "Man, by time," and I just would go watch his games. So by the time he was a freshman, I was like, "We got to move this kid. This kid got a chance." So I brought him down to the DMV area, took him in like my family and his family. We all became friends. And he came down there. They believed in me, quite believe it or not, I gotta let the fans know. I took him over to the math at first, man. But y'all had a quarterback. Dre. I ain't gonna let you lay that down. But and honestly, to show the character of Dwayne, he wanted to go to Bullis because he had a little sister, and she could go to Bullis. So we got him into Bullis, and the story is from there. And when you talk about what he was doing up at Ohio State, and then Chase followed. Obviously Chase is probably, if not probably one of the most talented young men I've ever seen come through high school, college. And I believe, and I've told a lot of people this, he's a day one Hall of Famer. And I don't say that too often. I've seen probably about 3 or 4 of those come across my lifetime where I've seen them and knew that they were Hall of Fame caliber type athletes. The first person I can tell you wholeheartedly that was for me was Orlando Pace. The second person was Sean Taylor, and the third person probably was Chase Young. Now, rest in peace to my man S2TM, but that's the type of level of athlete and presence that I think Chase Young is going to bring to the DC area, man. And I seen him in high school, and he was the same dominant. College, he was dominant, and I think he's that type of athlete in the pro. Will be that type of athlete in the pros.
Will he get to be celebrated though, Shawn? Like if the team can't figure it out in the new Rivera era, will we get to celebrate him for all that he brings to the table?
Well, the good thing about a defensive end, it's up to you don't have to rely on pass rush. You don't have to rely on somebody else as defensive end. You can just put your hand down and go get the ball. And he is an instant impact. And I think that the one thing we have to do in Washington is not mess things up. like don't try to have him drop it back and cut. No, have him going to get the ball. I think you'll see that he is a game changer, instant impact. I think he's the type of kid can play here if they're smart. 15 years in the Washington, D.C. area. And then, he went to a program like Ohio State, and he's considered probably one of the top 5, 10 best defensive players there of all time. I would argue probably top 5, top 3 defensive players of all time. I want us to be disrespectful because we do have some Hall of Famers come out of that program, but I think I think he's that type of talent.
All right, well, we're going to see. So just for our listeners, I am here and I'm present and I enjoyed the first 4 questions. And the beauty of podcasts, Dre, is that Dre and Shawn have an established relationship. So I just got to sit back and take that all in. But now we're going to redirect a little bit to some things of the present. And Shawn, the biggest story in the world in sports, obviously, right now is the pandemic and dealing with coronavirus.
Yeah.
The NFL plans to move forward with the season, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think everybody's like, what's going to happen. I think all you can do is put in the NFL as well as each individual organization. All you can do is put in the right protocols to keep the players
Okay,
safe.
cut all that. Would you be playing?
Oh, I'll go out there and play.
Okay, so wait a minute. This is 1 through 7 years, 1 through 7 in Seattle, right?
Yep.
You would play, hands down.
Yeah.
The 4 years in DC, you would play.
Yeah.
Last year in New England.
Yeah.
Really? No questions asked?
Yeah, I probably would play, but the thing I would do different would probably, and let me say this. It would all depend on where, I was with my personal life and my family. If I had young kids and my wife was pregnant or something like that, that's something I would take in consideration. And if that was, my first inclination is that I would be out there trying to play, and because I'll be a healthy young athlete and I would be out there trying to get it done. But if the situation was where, I had a wife that was pregnant or I had young kids, I would probably play, but I would, that I would pretty much quarantine myself from my family for maybe a couple months or whatever. I figure that out. And that's something that you could think about, and I think it's by every case is different, and everyone has to take those things in consideration.
All right, so that's the one piece of it. The other piece of it, particularly here in the U.S., is the social justice movement that we're seeing being embraced by sports leagues and by professional athletes. Yeah. NFL's had a terse relationship with that, though, Shawn. Like 2016, they could have been ahead of the curve if they did right back, but here we are. Right. What do you expect to see on that front? I mean, the NBA has done a tremendous job. Will we get anything of that caliber out of the NFL?
Well, I think you're absolutely right that NFL, I think they know they got it wrong with the Colin Kaepernick the first time, and it'd be really nice to come out and really have a few owners come out and say, yeah, we got this wrong. But I don't know if we can get that. But it was good to see Roger Goodell step up and say, hey, at least speak on the behalf of the owners. And I think, the players recognize now that they have a platform, that they have an opportunity, just like what you're seeing in baseball, just like you saw the one kid in hockey, just like you're going to see in the NBA and WNBA. And I think the NBA is just the shining star of the right way to do it. My personal opinion, I think those guys are doing it the right way. I hope the NFL players continue to influence their communities, their organizations, their teams, to use their platform, man, because you know how it is. Every community is going to look up to the athletes. And I want these guys to understand this, man. It's your duty and your responsibility to be a positive influence in the community.
Shawn, and then we talk about so many different topics, the social justice movement, the coronavirus movement, but the big thing here in the DMV is also the name change.
Yeah.
We all grew up Washington Redskins.
Yep.
Now it's the Washington football team.
Right.
Long overdue. Should that have been done maybe 10, 15 years ago? And now that it's done, how difficult is it for us?
Yeah.
We're no longer the Redskins.
Well, you know what? That's something I thought about, when I played, I really didn't understand, or really dive into if it was offensive. I didn't know. And I think now when I look back on it and I hear the people saying it was offensive, and then I heard some people say it wasn't offensive, but obviously if there's any question that offends any man, woman, race, whoever it offends, then something needs to be done and a change needs to happen. And I'm glad that that the organization has made the right decision to go with the Washington football team and make an immediate change. Obviously, they got opportunity to continue to think about the branding and what the final name should be, or keep that as a name. But my thing was, in 2020, people have a voice. Organizations are held accountable The Redskins got a few issues going on with, women and sexual harassment cases to the name change. So at the end of the day, the Washington football team is an organization that's loved. You're talking about a faithful fan base, and they deserve better, Dre. They deserve people. They deserve a good name. They deserve organization do the right thing so the people of the Washington D.C. area, the DMV, can respect them. And it starts internally. It starts from the top. I think Mr. Snyder realizes that, in 2020, this what's happened before, overlooking things can no longer happen.
Right.
And you see some of the changes that they're making in the organization. They got rid of the bad actors. They brought in new face images of the organization. Dre, you had a chance to work with Julie. You know what she stands for. She's a powerful woman. You know that she has a powerful story to tell, that that she's going to do her best internally to make change. So I'm excited to see moves like that. And I know they got more changes that need to be making, and it's going to be a process. And we deserve the best here in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay.
Dude, I heard that you are with the Senators or Warriors. Senators is not a football name, Shawn. I'm like, that, I don't care about red, white, and blue and DC teams. Like, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I know you're right about that, but I figure the Federals and the Nationals and Capitals won, so maybe that rubbed off on them. But guess what? We got 2 years or a year to think about it. I was just trying to. I was trying to get anything. I'm trying to get a win. You can call us the Ghostbusters if they're gonna bring a Super Bowl. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Shawn, and Shawn, Monica and I was talking before we got started. You mentioned that you played with arguably some of the best football players that ever played with this organization. Monica is good friends with Clinton Portis. You talk about Shawn Taylor, Shawn Springs, LeVar Arrington. Give us a mindset of that time period, playing for Coach Gibbs, playing for that team, that organization, that defense, those players, those personalities. What was that like?
Well, everybody know Clinton is weird and different. I got to give him a hard time. He was on the opposite side of the ball, man. Now, you know what? I respect, man. When Coach Gibbs came back, much like you about to see with Coach Rivera, it was one thing, and it was one thing not only that matters: football. It was about playing football. He didn't care what you said you were going to do. He needed to see what you were going to do. And it was about going out there, putting in the work every day, trying to figure out how to get better, encouraging your teammates, eliminate the distractions, get things done. So it was about football with Coach Gibbs. Don't worry about somebody blowing you up. That ain't CP blowing you up, is it? You know. It happens. It happened. Tell him he would. His big head self would love to disrupt one of my interviews too, because I'll be killing him. But anyway, so then you had Shawn Taylor. I mean, one of the everybody seen his football story. Great kid. I saw him, had a chance to spend 5 years with him. I was in the defensive back room for all 5 years with him. Spent a lot of time talking to him, seeing him grow from a young man to a father and friend and inspiration. And I think the sky was the limit for him. And, LeVar was just a beast, man. I think that, he hurt his knee and then he had a little dispute with the team and everything over his contract. But, man, we had a good group. It was a family. Spread Smooth, Marcus Washington. I can name Philip Daniels, London. Man, we just had some guys who just loved to play football and all just loved the area. And I used to tell them, man, because I would go out to Love every now and then, just to have a little free time spot. I would go out to Love, and I would tell them the people love you, baby. The people love you. You can't be sorry ain't showing up to the Republic Garden to Love,
DC Live, Platinum.
And that's you a little too old for me. I ain't hang out DC Live. You oldest. You was at Ibex too, wasn't you?
Yes, sir. Chapter 3, all that.
Hey, I went to elementary school right by Crystal City, so Crystal Skates. You know, I went to elementary school right by Crystal Skates. Hey, man, listen, man, Dre, stay out of trouble, man. I'd have told you to stay out of trouble.
Hey, but Shawn, but just tell us this, and I hear the passion in your voice about those time periods. What didn't we know about? And I hate to keep riding this question. What didn't we know about Sean Taylor? Everybody, they knew him as a great athlete.
Yeah.
But, you know, what didn't we know? Because we saw a young man whose career was gone before he really got a chance to start.
But the good thing about Sean, Dre, it was like, what you see is what you got, you know. I think, you know, he was one of those dudes, man, that like he was what he was. The thing about Sean, I don't think people really knew is how smart he was. You know, because people, you know, was like, man, he just out there playing football. You know, he played football early because he just could run to the ball and do things. But the thing was like, and not that he didn't have to learn football. He knew football, but he had to know that how it affected and changed the game for other players because he was already knowing where he was going to want to go, but he had to learn how to affect other players. But he was going to the ball, man. He knew where the ball was going to be.
Shawn, how's the game changed now? Do players, and we won't keep you much longer, but this is a question that I always sit down and try to study. Do the players love the game like you guys did?
Yeah, I think so. I think you know, the game is always going to be to the point where it is not easy to get there. So, you know, when you work that hard, I think the players love the game. You know, I think the players are a little different. We're in this new information world, this new social media world. So how you talk to the players and how they respond to you is a little different. But that's with all millennials in the workspace. It just, you know, and that's probably the same. That's probably the same way that my dad and them was saying about us. Like, man, you guys different, man. Yeah, we different because you know what? We make enough money where we don't have to show up to OTAs now, right? You know, so they probably thought we were spoiled. So these guys, man, and you see the guys who are the next generation of football players in this league. There's some studs, man. I tell you, that boy in Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, the Deshaun Watson, the Lamar Jackson repping Baltimore. You know, I mean, Dwayne is working hard to get in that group, but we got some young goons in this league that represents the league well from not only on and off the field. So I'm pretty excited about the direction of where the league is going.
Love that. So, but your sons, we got one that just transferred to Arizona.
Yeah.
Samari, you ready to get it going out that way? What is that part of your journey now been? You watched your dad do it. You got your sons following in your footsteps. Like, what's that part like?
But it's pretty cool to see your kids play and grow up and turn into young men. So Samari and Skylar, Samari's at Arizona. I don't think he's gonna play football this year. He said he's gonna just go to law school and he wants to get into IP. So it feels good that I can talk to him about just, you know what, it's much more than just athletics and sports. And then Skylar's at Georgetown. He's gonna start this year. If you know, in the spring when they have a season, and you know he's progressing and he's pretty excited. And I got my daughter. She's a Nordstrom's model, and she's pretty cool. And my 13-year-old Shawnee Jr., who most people around here usually see him with me, looks like Russell Wilson, man, like a baby Russell Wilson around here. But man, you know what? The best part of my life, you know, the thing I want to be known for the most is hopefully a good dad. You know. You know, and if I get married again, a good husband. So good father, good person in the community, man. That means a lot to me.
Shawn, talk to us real quick before we let you go about what you're doing to make the game safer.
Yeah. My company, WinPact. Give a shout out to Evo Shield because it's baseball season. Just came out real nice products. If y'all are baseball fans, go out look at our catcher's mask, catcher's helmet out of Evo Shield. They're shaping the future in baseball. But my company is WinPact. We're a technology and material science company. We focus on impact solutions for products. Think for y'all guys out there, think Gore-Tex for impact protection, right? We don't necessarily make the product, we make the padding system inside of it. But we work in the sports, automotive, and Department of Defense. And the thing I'm most proud about is, you know, my mom was in the military, so working with the Department of Defense and on soldiers' helmets because, you know, Traumatic brain injury and PTSD is real with soldiers and football players, and won 3 awards with the NFL and get to work with, a lot of the top universities in the country, from Wake Forest, Ohio State to NC State, Duke. I was in India for 12 days. I got factory partners, relationships in China. And, I never thought, of my wildest dreams that I'd be leading a company with engineers and industrial designers and some of the young, most brilliant people in the world, man. These kids are smart, and they're making the world safer by understanding material data and impact.
All right. Monica, before we let Mr. Springs go, you got anything else?
I'm all set. That was
Hey, Monica, don't be complaining about that red, white, and blue, and you got that sweet red hoodie on.
She's a Hoya. She's a Hoya.
I know. I'm gonna hold her accountable. She got does she know she like that red and white? It look good. You trying to say the witness don't look good?
Yes, but I just the Senators threw me. If it's red, white, and blue Senators, but you're right. If we win it, come on, you could be the American flag for all I care.
Hey, Shawn, before we let you go, give us your best Michigan-Ohio State story, because it's not even a rivalry anymore. It's one-sided. But Harbaugh said this year it's going to start to go back this way. I don't know. You tell me, Shawn. You tell me.
For those listening, that is a blank stare.
Only thing I know is Harbaugh says is the Doves coming back this year. That's all I know. You're still our guy, though. Don't even worry about it.
I'm gonna drop the mic on step to the mic. How about that? I'm out of here, man. I'm gone, man.
Hey, you're the best. You know we love you, man. Thank you for spending time. Monica's gonna close the show, but man, you're a class act, Shawn. Thanks, you so
man.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shawn.
Thank you.